Welcome back once again, guys. What a crazy weekend. We finally see another excellent event from Live Golf. And, there are times where the tournaments are kind of weak, mellow, one sided, and that's never fun to watch. It's never fun to watch where one guy just gets a 10-shot lead going into Sunday and it becomes just an absolute romp where the dude can go out there and putt with his nutsack and literally still win. But holy cow, when we have an event like this where the big names show up, where a lot of guys who we don't expect to show up, and the entire leaderboard, the whole entire day is contested, congested, and flip flopping. Holy cow, that is good. And we saw it going into the first round. We saw, whoa, is Taylor Gooch back? Because he's been a little off his game this season, which I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that he was going to have an off year. It's very difficult for somebody to make that jump from star to superstar and then maintain that level of play beyond that first year of superstardom as their schedule adjusts from being star to superstar. It's a very, very difficult transition for a golfer to make. Seriously, if you think I'm joking, look at pretty much every star out there. They have that rise, and they have like a 2 to 3 year drop where they're trying to figure out and adjust to life as a superstar in the golf world. But we see this event come down to the wire. Brooks Koepka snatches the win over Jon Rahm in a playoff, a great playoff situation. I really love that it actually happened like that. There was a lot of weirdness coming out from Nuclear Golf and a bunch of other people out there saying that, like, hey, Jon Rahm's pissed off at Liv. Jon Rahm doesn't want to play in Liv anymore. And you're just saying to yourself, well, dude, if you have actually watched Liv Golf at all this year, you would know that, yeah, he's not happy with everything about Liv. There's a lot of things about Jon Rahm that we notice. He's one of the most visibly frustrated with the crowd and with the scenery and with the music especially. He's probably the most frustrated guy out there with all of that. You can see him on camera several times throughout this year cursing the music changing in the back of his backswing, which is definitely very frustrating. There's a reason why you don't see that on certain things, because obviously if you're maintaining a continuous beat, that's not that big a deal. So if I don't know why I had a picture of Siwon Kim ready to go. I guess I want to get Kim Chi up in here. Yo, my boy Siwon, what you doing? Nothing. That's what he's doing right now. Anyway, the point is, guys, with it, if I was Live Golf, they play a lot of like pop music and all that stuff on there because obviously it's music people like. If I was them, I would play house music. I would literally just play hours of Dead out there, or something like that, which is going to have continuous beats that are predictable, that are going to be less likely to piss off somebody like Jon Rahm. And they do play EDM a lot out there, but the problem is they're not playing house EDM, which is Daft Punk, Dead, those type of bands that have long progressive tracks that have very, very well predicted change-ups, beat compressions, bridges, what have you, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a music guy, guys. I'm sorry, but they're playing a lot of hard EDM, 160 EDM, and stuff that you would see at festivals. Which the experience is a festival and the show is a festival for the fans. But for the players, such as Jon Rahm, we understand why he gets frustrated. Also, great round by Louis Oosthuizen on Sunday, who I did not predict him to go out there and shoot a 10 under. Louis is somebody who I predict to be an even keel player the majority of the time. Sometimes his body lets him down a little bit or something happens in his swing. But great job by Louis right there. Seriously, Louis, good job, dude. Seriously. With Brooks Koepka getting that win right there, that is his 5th win all-time in Live Golf. You may not be able to see these numbers very clearly because, I don't know, I just can't zoom in any further. Let me try to zoom in some further over here. Dude, this is my bad, homie sauces. Zoom. Let's go 200%. Yeah, here we go. Okay, 200% is what I need to do. I need to stop being lazy. So we can see all time. It's amazing how the dynasty of the dynasty of the aces has completely fallen at this point. As we see, the Fireballs are tied with them in points all time as far as legacy points. Stinger are within striking distance of them. And by the way, within 12 points, within 20 points is literally one event on Live Golf can actually make the difference. Smash GC lapped them hard this week. Both they actually, this is an example of where that window of threshold can actually be crossed in one event. Smash gets the win this week by the individual player and the win by the team. Their fifth player win and their third team win. Now, the scary thing for Smash is that all 5 of their individual wins have come under the banner of Brooks Koepka. Now, they have also gotten an individual playoff loss here or there. I think only one individual playoff loss, and that was by Peter Uihlein in Jeddah to Brooks Koepka. But the point is that Smash GC, finally risen above where the aces have been. The Crushers are still way in first as far as legacy points because they are so consistent long term. And of course, they have one of the 2 major wins under the LIV banner. We see, of course, Legion still picking up points this week with a 3rd place in their team and then also an individual playoff loss. And then, of course, Ripper picks up points as well. And so it's a good situation overall. Lots of teams getting up points. The big concerning thing is that obviously Brooks Koepka at this point, as far as overall wins since joining LIV Golf, by the way, Brooks Koepka is number 1 in most professional wins by a LIV golfer since joining LIV Golf. He has 6 total wins at this point since joining LIV Golf. And my question to you at this point is there anybody that you think could or should be above him at this point? And again, this is not since LIV Golf started. This is since they joined LIV Golf. So obviously players like Rahm haven't quite had the chance yet to catch him or whatnot, even though his play has been superb under the LIV banner, just not actually catching the wins individually. We have players like Joaquin Niemann, who I think showed up really well in the early portion of the season and is still getting good results, just not getting the wins. And then, of course, we have other players like Sergio, who, oh my gosh, if Sergio could just get playoff wins, oh my gosh. He finally did get one, but that was he's 1 for 4 in playoff wins in LIV. It's amazing, though, to think about. You have Sergio, you have a lot of these other players that are getting great results and great opportunities, and other players who are winning consistently outside of LIV while still being a LIV player. That's also impressive to see, as we see players like Carlos Ortiz, Dean Burmester, even Joaquin, and, of course, Richard Bland, who's picked up 2 senior wins, now being able to play in certain senior events that are not controlled by the PGA themselves. The question really comes down to it, I guess, is after the end of the next season, do you think Brooks Koepka will still be the top winner underneath the LIV banner? He's currently sitting at 6. I believe the second place player should be 4, I think. I'm trying to think real fast. Pardon me. Brain fog real quickly. It would either be 4, and it would be either Brooks. Sorry, it would either be. Oh my gosh, my brain is farting up right now. So I know Bryson has 3. I know that Ripper GC, you have 4 actually, because you have Cam Smith winning an Aussie event, and then of course winning 3 inside of the LIV Tour itself. So I'm going to put Cam as number 2 right there at 4. We see that there's going to be opportunities for LIV players to still get up wins. I don't know how many more opportunities we're going to see for Richard Bland, as of course he is in the twilight of his career. And as much as he is still playing some doggone good golf, he also challenged this weekend as well. It's amazing. Dickie B is a stud nugget, and I am so impressed with him. I think that he's having the Pro 50 career that I think a lot of us hoped Lee Westwood or Phil Mickelson would have. Phil Mickelson's Pro 50 career, of course, got kind of derailed because of the initial LIV window, and then, of course, also just, we had COVID getting in the way and all that other crud. So you got to give his Pro 50 career a grain of salt. He did do well during the time that he was playing on the Champions Tour, but like so many other stud nuggets from the PGA Tour land, they mentally don't want to admit to themselves that they need to be playing on the Champions Tour when they're in a spot where they could go out there and just decimate the Champions Tour. Even look at Patrick Harrington. Patrick Harrington is somebody who, if he exclusively stayed on the Champions Tour and played only Champions Tour events, I think Patrick Harrington would win 7 times a year. I think he would have had the season that Steve Stricker had last year, but Patrick is spending so much of his time playing European, this, that, and there's benefits, right? There's benefits because you're staying active and in the rhythm, whereas Champions Tour can create bad habits of lethargy and other things. But at the same time, like, you're not as tournament focused, I guess is the right way to say it. You're not as course prepared, perhaps. And so this is kind of becomes a question mark for what will happen long term with certain players. Obviously, end of the season is rearing up for Liv. We see that we're going to have the relegation windows coming up with one more event, one final event to push yourself out of the scary zone. Sadly, both brothers Vincent are in the drop zone. Of course, Anthony Kim and Hudson Swafford are in there. I think there's. I hope that neither one of them come back. I know that's mean to say. They've had so many events this year. Hudson Swafford, the whole Hudson Swafford Anthony Kim thing does piss me off a little bit because the Anthony Kim story is impressive. I like his attitude. I do. I like his attitude on Twitter. He's very much like humble. Like, hey, I'm not playing well. He did have his best finish to date at Greenbrier, 36th. But this is, X number of events in the season, and Homeboy has not scored one single point in the Liv stratosphere, which means he's never finished in the top 24. And like I said, tie for 36th is his best finish. Hudson Swafford has played every single event this season and has not finished once higher than 35th, than a tie for 35th. Meanwhile, you have players like Laurie Cantor, who played two events, his first two events of the season, then got bumped for Anthony Kim. And if you look at him, he's actually 51st right here, and you can see he's 51st. He's above players like Bubba Watson, who is a captain. He's above Kaya Samuya, who won the promotion event last season, and he's above Kieran Vincent, who's played every single event. And that's frustrating. Now, Kieran Vincent did win an event on the Asian Tour this year, or was it it was the Asian Tour, I think. It was either the Asian Tour or the Sunshine Tour. I forget. Sorry, guys. It's been a long morning. And the point is, so he has contributed points to Legion 13's legacy, but at the same time, him and Samuya are players that got in the tournament. Got live status above him. And honestly, this whole season, I've just been pissed off that Laurie Cantor has not been there. Laurie Cantor has played very impressive in pretty much every event that he has gotten into, both in Liv and outside of Liv this season. And I really do hope that next year he's officially brought back in some type of formal capacity, true capacity, because him being where he's at, where he's not actually getting playing time at all, just pisses me off. Because he's proven over the years that he's better than that, deserves more opportunities than that, but because he doesn't have the name or whatever, he gets dropped off. I get it, whatever, We go down the list, and obviously you're seeing some trends right here. The Aces have had a disastrous year. And funny story, the players that I talked about back at the beginning of the year being kind of the draggers, the guys who are going to drag the Aces down, have proven to do exactly that. They have had some good finishes. I'm not saying that they can't get a good week, but if you look at this, Harold Varner III has only had two finishes inside the top 20. Pat Perez has had three finishes two finishes in the top 20 also, and it's just been frustrating to watch both of them go out there. And for a team that had, going into the start of last year, they were the dynasty. Even going into the start of this year, they were still up there in the upper echelons of points. And I put them at the very beginning of the year. I said, hey, guys, they are going to have a bad year. HV3 and Pat Perez are not mentally ready for golf this year. They have got too much baloney going on outside of their lives that is going to disrupt their play, and it shows. One event left in single play, and they're below, and they're literally 1 point, just above the drop zone. I want to see them back next year. I want to see them mentally fit next year. I don't know if that'll happen for either one of them in 6 months. A lot can happen in 6 months, but it's a lot to happen in 6 months, And that's my curiosity for them: is what's the next thing that happens? What's the next thing that happens? And I don't know. I hope that they can figure this out, because it's going to be very interesting. It'll be very interesting. But the Aces have just been getting decimated this year in the rankings. They've gone from being one of the powerhouse teams to being one of the mediocre teams. They still have legacy points on their status. Like I said, DJ did pick up an individual win this season, but it's just like kind of those question marks to make you just go, okay, what is this going to look like long term? Martin Keimer somehow has reemerged and had enough decent appearances this season to actually look like a real player that can stay in the league and be competitive in the league. And that's awesome because he's not, one of the senior tour age players. So it's very good to see him as a captain, but see him also being competent as a captain. Lee Westwood has somehow put together enough decent appearances throughout this year for me to say maybe he doesn't need to get put out, but I do hope that going into next year they break the Majestics up into two different teams. I think the Majestics really do need to get and pulled apart and have two different teams emerge out of that. What I would like to see is I would like to see Heinrich Stenson get removed, put on his own team, and then you can have Westwood, Poulter, Horsfield, because Horsfield is the best player on the Majestics, even though he's ranked 30th, which is sad. That's your highest ranked player, is 30th in the overall rankings. Not hating, it's just the reality. But I really do hope that they do that they force Stenson to become his own team. You can keep Horsfield, Westwood, blah, blah, Poulter. But you need to have a dynamic fourth player put in that can be competitive every single week. Ideally, you'd pick up somebody like a Fleetwood, obviously a bigger name player from the English theme if you want to keep the English theme going, and be able to rally. Maybe you even just take Paul Casey off of Crushers because John Catlin looks like he's going to be coming in next season and potentially be on the Crushers. Who knows? So maybe that's what you do. Maybe you take Paul Casey out of the Crushers, push him over to the Majestics, pull Stenson out, make him make his own team. Who knows? That's what I hope. That's what I think needs to happen, because the Majestics just aren't competitive in the grand scheme of things. They have weeks where they can do well, but they're just not competitive. I don't think anybody blatantly goes bye-bye in the open zone. I know the open zone means that you're not exactly locked for a contract, so don't be a dick to your teammates. But I think that pretty much anybody in the open zone, unless you're like a Matty Wolf and trying to fight Brooks Koepka like last year, I don't think that anybody gets dropped. I think Matt Wolf's done a great job of, by the way, improving himself this season. He's put himself up into 17th at this point. Very, very good. 2 top 5 finishes, 1 podium finish. I mean, the dude's done a great job of just getting himself centered. I'm really impressed with Charles Schwartzel maintaining form enough to stay up there in ranks. I mean, at one point he was super high in the rankings. He's only had, and he finds ways to get points out of a good number of events, and that's really what it comes down to. If you look at Charles Schwartzel's season, his season really is kind of the barometer for success as far as what success in Live Golf can and should look like. The goal isn't to go out every single week and get and win every single week, play for broke every single week like a John Daly style. The goal is get out there and find a way to score points the majority of the weeks. Obviously, when you have a bad week, just lean into it, have fun. Don't let it ruin your week. But at the same time, you look at Schwartzel, very consistent throughout the season, and consistency is what keeps you in the conversation. I think he's far enough up to where he's safe from being in the open zone, which means that you're not secure, but you probably are secure. Let's be real. Liv's not really in a spot right now where they can just throw away 30 players every single year. Maybe they will eventually. Maybe it becomes a little differently as more corporate sponsors get into the mix. I don't know. I'm not behind the back doors. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is the player that you're most excited about going into the end of this year in the playoffs? Who do you think is going to be in the best situation? As far as the teams go, Crushers pretty much have this have had a really good lead. It's going to come down to really just one of 2 teams at the end, as Crushers only have a 0.5 point lead above Legion 13 going into the last event. This is going to be really a big deal. Obviously, this does not determine the actual season winner. It just determines who has the first seed going into the team playoff structure. So very interesting to note right there. If I was Crushers, though, if I was Crushers or Legion, I do want to get that number 1 seed and be like, yeah, dude, we won the regular season. To me, it's kind of a bit more of an English-style mentality right there, as you see that with England. England doesn't have playoffs in most of their leagues. They just have regular season, and whoever's top at the end of the regular season, that's who won it. Playoffs are kind of an American thing if you really look at it. But anyway, guys, what do you think going forward? Do you think I'm right? Do you think certain teams need to get broken up? Do you think the Aces stay the same going into next year? Do the Ironheads, what do we do with the Ironheads? I mean, seriously, what do we do with the Ironheads? I don't know. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful day. Just wanted to talk with you today. Peace.